today's lesson is on checking your solution using the graphing calculator. But before we do that, let's look at some calculator basics. We'll be using x as a variable, and when we put variables into the calculator, most of the time we use x, and there is a button for x. It's right here under the mode key, and it has an x, a t, a sigma, and an n. So that's the key you hit for the letter x to use as your variable. Right, the other calculator basic is the standard graph. When we graph, we want a graph most of the time that looks like this. This is our standard graph. It goes from -10 to 10 on the x-axis and -10 to +10 on the y-axis. Though sometimes when we're working with our calculator and we're graphing, we may not get that standard graph, but we want that standard graph. So we need to know how to reset that. And how we do that is we hit the zoom key and choose number 6, which will give us, which says Z standard, which will give us this standard graph. So it's important that you know how to reset the graph to a standard graph. So go ahead and copy this in your notes so you can refer to it if you need to. Alright, so we'll be checking solutions using the calculator. Before we begin, let's get an overview of what we'll be doing. We will be solving an equation. We will be placing the left side of the equation into the y1 and the right side of the equation into y2. We're going to get this screen by hitting this y equals button. Once we've entered our equation into the calculator, we're going to then calculate an intersection. We've entered this equation in. It's going to give us two lines. We want it to graph the two lines, and the point of intersection is our solution. So we're going to tell the calculator to then calculate the intersection by hitting the second key in the calc and choosing number 5. It'll then graph it for us, and we will hit the enter key 3 times, and this will come up, intersection point. The intersection point of these two lines is 1.5, 6.5. For 1.5 and 6.5 is the point of intersection. We are checking our solution. That's the x value. So that's what we'll be doing. Go ahead and copy some of that down. All right, so here we have the equation 5x minus 1 equals x plus 5. So I need to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Which leaves me 4x minus 1 equals 5. I'm now going to add 1 to both sides. I'm now going to divide by 4. X equals 6/4. If we reduce that, it's 3/2. And that's usually fine to have an improper fraction. I'm going to be looking on the calculator and comparing the answer, and it's going to give me a decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and convert that to a decimal. So now I've solved this multi-step equation, and I'm going to check my solution. I'm going to check that x equals 1.5. All right, so I'm going to call up my calculator. All right, and I need to enter this into the y equals. So I'm going to hit y equals, and I'm going to enter the left side of the equation. 5. I'm going to choose this button for x, and this is minus 1, not negative 1, minus 1. And then I'm just going to arrow down. And for y2, I'm going to enter x plus 5. I'm going to hit this key for my x key plus 5. Now I'm going to double check that I've entered my information incorrectly. 5x minus 1 equals x plus 5. Okay? So 5x minus 1 is a line, and y equals x plus 5 is a line. The solution to this is the point where those two lines intersect. So now we're going to go ahead and calculate the intersection. So calculate is here. These are our graphing keys up here. So I'm graphing these two lines, so I want to calculate the intersection. So here's the calc button, so I hit the second calc or trace. I want the intersection, so I can scroll down to number 5, or I could have just hit the number 5 and I hit enter. Okay, so right now I can hit enter 3 times, and my intersection is 1.5, which I got. So these two numbers match, so it's correct. But I'm looking at my screen. This isn't my standard screen. I want my standard screen. So I'm going to hit the zoom, and I'm going to go down to number 6, standard. I'm just going to type 6 in. And it's going to go give me the standard view. And then again, if I wanted to second calc, number 5, enter, enter, enter. My intersection is at 1.5, which is my x value. So this is a good way to check on the calculator, especially when you're doing multi-step equations, variables on both sides. All right? All right, so let's try the next equation. It's a little bit more involved. Got some distributive property here on both sides, so we'll go ahead and distribute. We get 3q minus 15 equals 2q plus 10. I'm going to gather my q's on this side and my numbers on the other side, my constants. So I'm going to minus 2q on both sides. And that's going to give me q minus 15 equals 10. I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And q equals 25. Okay. So let's check this in the calculator. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into y equals. And I can hit clear, scroll down and hit clear. I like to do that. Now I'm going to enter this in this left side into the calculator into y1 and the right side into y2. This is the variable q. When I'm using the calculator, I'm going to use x. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 3 parenthesis, use this x key, minus 5, and close my parentheses. I'm going to take my arrow key down to parenthesis x plus 5. So even though my problem says q, I'm just going to go ahead and use this x key here. All right, so now I have entered the left side and the right side. The left side is a line, the right side is a line. So now I want to calculate the point of intersection. So calculate. So second calc, I want the intersection, so number 5. So now I have my standard screen. But in this instance, my solution, or the point of intersection, is outside this viewing area. So watch what happens. I'm going to hit enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it's going to say there's no sign change. It's going to give me an error. because the graph is not intersecting with the lines are not intersecting inside this viewing area. So I need to zoom out. So I'm going to hit zoom, and number 3 is out. So I'm going to hit number 3, and then I'm going to hit enter. And it's barely intersecting, and you can barely see it. So I'm going to make sure it's inside my viewing area and hit enter again. Now I have 3 times the quantity x minus 5, 2 times the quantity x plus 5 intersecting in my viewing area is that number 25. Second calc, number 5, 1, 2, 3 enters. The intersection is x is 25, so my solution is correct. Right? And that's all I need to do for that problem. Now if I want to reset my calculator to the standard screen so the next time I have a good screen ready to go, I'm going to hit zoom, number 6, enter. Okay? And I can go into y equals 2 and clear my, okay, now I'm getting this, I've overloaded it, so I have to turn it off. And then I can go into y equals and hit clear. I can hit clear. And I can hit zoom, and there, we're ready to go. So that's how you check solutions using the calculator.